Hello, welcome to our UCE Math exam practice today with teacher Bemba, and today we are looking at paper 1. Feel free to pause this video and look at the questions before you continue with the solutions. Here are the questions we are looking at today. We have 10 questions to look at. Okay, feel free to pause and do the numbers before you look at the guide. And so here is our guide. Let's go straight to question 1. And in our question 1, here is the question. We are asked to make P to be the subject of this formula here. And if we are making P to be the subject of the formula, it simply means have P left on one side of the equal signs in the equation. So what should be our first step? Our first step, by looking at this minus 1, we can start by moving it to this side, and so we are writing s plus 1 is equal to this part here. All right. Now when we notice that our P is in the denominator, we need to move it up. How can we do that? By cross multiplication. That's why I have introduced the brackets. Remember, down here we have a 1. Okay, down here this is now out of 1. So when I cross multiply, this comes on this side. The 1 times 3x gives me the 3x here. After that, now at this step, it is not wise to open the brackets, okay, because that means now this P will be multiplied by these terms and you're creating more P's. But the best thing to do is to divide on both sides by s plus 1, and so that's the step I have here. I have divided by s plus 1. Okay, and now when I look at my P here, I notice that my P has a minus sign in front of it. In simple terms, it is a negative term. But remember, I'm interested in a positive term P. So what do I do next? Instead of moving this term to this side, I take this term, the P, to this side, okay, so that it becomes a positive P in this final step here. Whereas I take this entire term to the left-hand side of the equation so that it becomes minus 3x out of s plus 1. And with this, we do not need to go any further. We have our P left on one side, and so we have answered the question. Okay, so that is question 1. Let's look at question 2. Question 2, here we are. We are being told to solve that inequality there, okay, this inequation here. And when we look at it, we see we have denominators, all right? And it's not easy to deal with fractions. And so the first thing to think about is getting the LCM of 2, 4, and 3, which I know you're good at doing. So the LCM is a 12. And so I multiply it by each and every term. So when you look at that very step, you notice that I'm multiplying the 12 here, by each and every term. And then since it's the LCM, I can now divide by 2, 1, by 2, 6, by 4, 1, by 4, 3, by 3, 1, by 3, 4. Okay, and now that gives us this simplified step where we do not have denominators. Good. Now after doing that, we need to open brackets. And how do we open brackets? We are multiplying this 6 times everything inside here to give us 6n plus a 6. Are we good with that? Then look at this term here. I want to highlight this term here. Okay, I have a minus sign in front here. Please, whenever you have a minus sign in front of the brackets, you need to be extra careful, because you see what happens when I multiply this by this. I have minus 3n, and this times this, now I have a positive 9. This is where most people get off, a positive 9. Okay, when you get that right, you can't go wrong. And after that, I have my less than sign. Then I also open brackets here for n plus and 8. Good. So after that, then when I look at my left hand side of the inequation, I have like terms. For example, this and this are like terms. So when I do take away 3, I stay with 3n, and also positive 6 and positive 9 are like terms. When I add them together, I have my positive 15 here. And now from this step, someone will say, teacher, you're giving me the final answer. Yes, if you can see it in this way. When I look at this term, it is a 4n. On this side, I have a 3n. So I know when I move this 3n to this side, it will become 4n minus 3n. So I stay with only 1n. See that? And then that means the other thing I need to do is I move this 8, all right? When it crosses the less than sign, it becomes 15 minus, okay? The positive changes into minus 8, which gives me a 7. And so my final answer is 7 is less than n. Okay, fine. What if I had not decided to answer this part like the teacher, and I said, we are used to putting unknowns on the left hand side, and then I write 3n minus 4, so that means I have minus n is less than, then I take the 15 to this side, so that I have 8 minus 15, which gives me minus 7. Do you see that? Then to make this to be positive, I need to divide by negative 1 here. But when we are dealing with inequalities, when we are solving actually, whenever we divide by a negative number, or when we multiply by a negative number, always remember that the sign must be reversed. Okay, instead of having a less than, now I have a greater than sign. Okay, that is a trick there you must have on your fingertips. And now when I put off the minus, I have my final answer as n is greater than 7. And when you look at these two statements, they mean the same thing. I hope you have enjoyed that question too. Let's continue and look at question 3. Question 3, she's here. We have we have some circle properties to deal with, and so we have the question there, and it is well illustrated, and we are supposed to work out the value of this unknown angle x. Let's see. We can answer this in 2 ways, so that's why I have this here. We either take this or this. Now if I look at solution number 1, when I look at angle x, it is a reflex angle here, a reflex angle out here. Then I ask myself, do I know these two? Let's see how we get them. When I look at triangle OAB, this is OB is a radius, and OA is also a radius. And so we know that this is now an isosceles triangle. And by its properties, that means if I have 43 here, also this angle here is 43. These two angles must be the same. And so I can use this angle and this angle, and they give me, when I add them here, do we see angle BAC? They give me 105 degrees. Okay, now what do I do with that 105 degrees? Look at this arc, if you can follow. Look at this arc BC. Do you see this arc BC? This arc subtends a reflex angle at the center. Okay, it makes this reflex angle at the center, but at the same time it creates this angle BAC, and the simple relationship there is angle subtended at the center by an arc is twice the angle it subtends at the circumference. So I make good use of that to find the reflex angle x. That's why I am multiplying 2 by 105 degrees to get my final answer as 210 degrees. Okay, that is method 1. Now what if my eyes can't see that? How else can I answer this question. I want to go back here. Now already we said this angle here is 43, so that means we can work out this angle here. Okay, this plus this should give us 180. So now the angle here is a 94. Feel free to work it out. Then also, let's now consider this other triangle OAC. This OA is radius, OC is also a radius. So the two are equal. And so now we have another isosceles triangle. With this being 62, that means this angle at this point is also 62. Okay, and definitely that means now we can work out the angle at this point, and that angle is 56. Good. Now if I know this angle and this angle here, I can add the two, and when I add the two I get 150. And having obtained this part here, then I can go ahead. I know the angle at this point when I move around, it should be 360, and I make good use of that, so that I do 360 take away 150. Still I get my 210. So that's how I can handle that question about circle properties. Not the number of them, but always find the easiest property to use. Let's go to question 4. Question 4. I have a point that I need to reflect in the line y plus x is equal to 0. Okay, does this line look to be a tough one? No, this line is the same as the line y is equal to minus x. When I take x the other side, I have 0 minus x. It gives me minus x. Okay, and so we are supposed to find its image, and the image is written as a prime. Okay, so we need to do some drawings on the graph paper. I have my graph paper right here. So to start with, we need the two major axes, the y-axis, which is vertical, and the x-axis. Okay, and then we need to mark. And in this question, I've decided to use 1 centimeter, 1 unit. And when we are answering such a question, the scale used on the two axes must be the same. Whenever we are handling transformation numbers, the scale on the two axes must be the same. So if I say 1 centimeter, 1 unit on the x-axis, I should also say 1 centimeter, 1 unit on the y-axis. Please do not forget to name the axes. Okay, give them their names. All right, so now after doing that, I need to draw the line y plus x is equal to 0. Okay, if you have been doing some good practice, drawing this line is as simple as that. What about someone who is finding hardship? Let's see. We need to create some coordinate points here. Not very many. You just need 3 of them. And so I can pick any x value. For example, I can say if my x is 1, what should be the value of y? Okay, when you work out, you'd find that the value of y should be negative 1. And so we need to plot that point 1, negative 1. Do you see the point here? Nice. Then what if my x is 0? Okay, which number should I add to 0 to get a 0? The number should still be a 0. And I hope we can see the point 0, 0. What if my x, feel free, if you do not like negative numbers, please choose only positive numbers. But if you like negative numbers, you can also go to the negative numbers. Let me pick negative 1. If my x is negative 1, the number I can add to negative 1 to get a 0 should be a positive 1. Let's see, negative 1 and 1, that is the point. And having plotted the 3 points, then I simply get my ruler and I draw the line, and that's the line y is equal to minus x, aka the line y plus x is equal to 0. All right, then after drawing that line, we need to plot the point. Remember, in the question we are given that the point should be at our object point A is at 0, 3. Okay, so x is 0, do not go to the left, not to the right, 0, stay put. But you only need to make how many steps in the vertical direction? 3 steps. Do you see how I plot that point? So my point A is right here. Fine. Now, having plotted this object point, then this is my mirror line. When we talk of reflection, we are looking at a mirror and what it does to the object. So if this is you standing in front of the mirror, where do you expect your image to be? Definitely, it must be behind the mirror. Okay? But now, how do I get to know where it should be exactly? I can get a ruler and I draw a straight line here. All right? A straight line here. Please note the line should be, as you draw this straight line, actually before you do, make sure that the angle that line is going to make with this mirror line is 90 degrees. That is very important, because if it is not making 90 degrees, then that means you will end up with the wrong image. So after drawing a line which makes an angle of 90 degrees with the mirror line, then I look at the distance. Do we see this distance here? I'm looking at this diagonal one and a half of a box. Then I follow a half of a box and 1. So that means now my image is this side here. This is where we have A prime. And A prime, our image point there, we can now write our answer. A prime is, when I look at this, I need to go 3 steps to the left, that is -3, and then no steps in the vertical direction, so that is a 0. So this is the answer we are looking for. You can also answer this question using matrices of transformation if you are very comfortable with using this more here. Matrix of transformation times object should give us an image. That is something for you to do. Okay, let's continue. Question 5. Question 5, are we here? We have some probability to enjoy picking. Imagine we are asked questions about picking. Let's see, what are we picking? We have 5 black balls and 3 red balls, and we are told that two balls are randomly picked one after the other without, now I want to look at this seriously, without replacement. Okay, this simply means when you pick, you do not put back. Okay, and we must pick 2. All right, so let's see how we can easily enjoy answering this question. We can do that. If this is our box, we have put there 5 black balls and 3 red ones. All right, and so I can pick a black one, I can pick a red one, I can pick a black one. For the second time, I can pick a red one. Let's consider the first picking. So when I'm doing my first picking, in the box I have 8 of them now. Do we see that total? So that means the chance, which is the probability that I pick a black one, is 5 out of 8. Okay, whereas the chance that I pick a red one is 3 out of 8. Nice. Now, what if I have picked the first ball and I want to pick a second one? All right, there's an opportunity for me to pick a black one or a red one. Now, having started by picking a black one, that means now how many black ones do I have left in the box? They are now 4. What about their total number? That means now their total number has also reduced by 1, so I only have 7. Is that okay? Then what about the red ones? If I started by picking a black one, that means I still have 3 red inside there, but now the total number is 7. Please always check these fractions how whenever you add these two, whenever you add the probabilities at a given branch, they should give you a 1. Fine. If we had started by picking a red one, what would be the chance that we pick a black one. If we started with the red one, that means our black ones are still 5, but the number has reduced to 7 because we have already removed 1. And then the red ones, if we started by putting away 1 red, that means that their number has now reduced to a 2 out of a 7. Good. That's how we can complete our tree diagram. And now the question says find the probability that both balls are red. So that means I pick the first one is red and then the second time is red. So that means I'm following this path here, red, red. And please, under probability, so long as we are considering probabilities along the same path, like this is the same path, then we need to multiply the two probabilities. That's why I'm multiplying this 3 out of 8 times 2 out of 7, and the final answer is 6 out of 56. Or you can as well simplify this fraction to a 3 out of 28. Nice. Let's continue and enjoy this operations number. I know this one, most of you would just say, teacher, go to the next one, because you have done a lot of operations. So with operations, yes, we have been given this definition here, and we only need to follow, because the operation says we have a stylistic symbol here. We don't know what it means, but in the question they have defined it, and they are telling us that whenever you see this symbol, what do you need to do? Get the first number, multiply it by the square of the second number. Please, you need to note this square here is only on the second number, right? Do we see that square there? It's on the B, not on the A. Okay, so if we want to find 2 star 5, then the first one is A, the second one is the B. So the A times the B squared, okay, and this is 25 times 250. Good. Then the second part, A star 3. How do we expand that? The first number is A still, but now the second number standing in for B must be squared, and this gives us a 9 times an A. So 9A, we are being told that the output is supposed to be 63. So divide by 9, our answer should be a 7. That is something for you to enjoy. Let's go to question 7. Question 7 is requiring us to solve the quadratic equation. Okay, we can see the highest power here being a 2. It's a quadratic equation, and I want to talk about 2 ways of solving it, and I'll start with the factorization method. Okay, so with the factorization method, what do I need to get? First of all, I identify the sum in this given equation, and the sum is the coefficient of this middle term here, the x, and we can see that the coefficient of this x, it is 1. Okay, that's why we don't have the number written. So it is 1x, so that its coefficient is 1, and that gives us the sum. Having gotten the sum, then we need to get the product. And how do we get the product? The product, we multiply the coefficient of x squared times the constant here. But when we are considering this constant here, we also consider the sign on it. So that means if there is a minus sign in front of it, that constant is a negative number. That's how I'm getting -2 here as my product. Now, what do we do next? Look at this product. Okay, you can first of all ignore the minus sign. What are the factors of 2, right? This one is a bit easy, because we only have 1 and a 2 that can be multiplied to get a 2. So the only factors are 1 and a 2. And the only thing now we need to do is to adjust and put signs, so that when you multiply, we get a -2, and when we add, we get a 1. And since our sum is a positive 1, that means the smallest number should be a negative number. So we have -1 times 2 giving us -2, and -1 plus a 2, which should give us a sum of 1. Now, what do we do next? Now we're going to split the middle term into 2. So instead of writing 1x, we are writing it as minus x plus 2x. Please note, what you write here should be able to give you back the original term you have in the given equation. And now what do we do next? At this step, you'll notice that we have 4 terms, and we are good now to start the factorization. I will look at these first 2 parts, and when I look at them, I say, what is common to the first term and the second term? We have 2x squared and x, and so the common term is an x. So I write it down here. I put brackets. Which term can I multiply by this x? Because the brackets mean we're going to multiply. So that I go back to 2x squared. That term should be 2x. Right. Then which term can I multiply by x so that I get minus x? That term is minus 1. Fine. Now, the moment I get this first bracket here, I'm good to go. I can even simply write it again down here, because having done this perfectly well, then that means this step should come out well. So the bracket I have here, I go ahead and I write it right down here. All right. Then what is left? I need a number outside here, so that when I multiply it by this, I can get positive 2x, and that number is a positive 1. Please do not just put a number without a sign. The number is positive 1. And when you multiply it by this, we get this. And by all means, when we multiply that number by this, we should be able to get this. Now, at this step, you will see that what we have in brackets is the same. This and this are now also becoming common. It's the same brackets. So we write it down here, and we open a new bracket. What are we to put in this new brackets? We get the term that is outside here, x. We also get the term that we have here, positive 1. And this is equal to 0. And mathematically, whenever you are multiplying 2 numbers and you're getting a 0, that means either this number here is a 0 or this number here is a 0. That's what we use to solve from this step, and I'm sure you are able to get a half, and you're also able to get minus 1. Fine. Now, allow me to talk about this formula here, and then you'll be the one to use it. The formula says if I have a quadratic equation, to work out the values of the unknown, I need to have minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac. Everything, please, it is everything, not starting from the middle, but everything is divided by 2a. Now I get what does a, b, and c mean? The a is the coefficient of x squared, the number that is multiplied by the unknown squared here. So this is the a. Then the b is the coefficient of x here, the number on the middle term here. Since we have nothing written there, it's just x, so it should be a 1x, so that the coefficient is 1. Then the c is the constant here, together with the sign, all right? So that's why I'm calling my c to be minus 1. Good. And now what do? We need to substitute into this equation here, and then we can work out the values of x and y. Remember, these 2 signs here, the plus and the minus, will help us to split, so that we are able to obtain 2 values for that equation. Thank you. Let's go to question 8 here. Question 8, a common question. We have been given a matrix, and we are supposed to work out its determinant, right? Determinant of a matrix. And what do? To work out the determinant of a matrix, we are being asked to find the inverse of a matrix, but then in order for us to go there, we need to start by finding the determinant. So the determinant, how do we get it? Multiply the numbers along the major. This is what we call the major diagonal. Take away the product of the numbers along the minor diagonal, and that's what we have there. Okay, 10 minus 12. minus 2. Then when we are good with this, then we can continue and get the inverse. This is how we write inverse of matrix B. Okay, you see that minus 1 there. So how do we get it? This should equal to 1 out of determinant of B. This is now the determinant of B times the adjoint matrix. How do we get the adjoint matrix? The numbers along the major diagonal interchange positions. 5 comes down, 2 moves up. Then what happens to the numbers along the minor diagonal? They change sign. So 4 is positive in the given matrix. Now I'm changing it into minus 4. 3 is positive here. I'm changing it to minus 3. So change in sign. Good. Now after doing that, then we need to multiply this number here times each and every entry in the matrix. So this times this, minus 1, minus a half times minus 4, 2, minus a half times minus 3, 3 out of 2, minus a half times 5, minus 5 out of 2. Please feel free to use your calculator here. I know some of us are being disturbed by this minus sign, so use your calculator to get the right answer there. Okay, question 9. Question 9. Question 9, we have been given, we have a figure here, and we have the sides, the two sides being equal, and angle 90 here, and we are asked to work out the length AB. How do I get the length AB? Okay, from the figure I see that I have an angle and I have one side. And which type of triangle is this? Now since this is a straight line, this side is 90 degrees, then by all means this side should also be 90 degrees. Okay, so that means now we are talking about a right angled triangle ACD. Now which side should I pick interest in? Now I want to get AB, so that means I am interested in AD. So how do I work out AD? When I look at the given angle, this is the given angle 30, and since this is the right angled triangle, remember the side that is right in front of this given angle is called the opposite side, right? Then the side in the neighborhood, okay, making an angle with the opposite, is what we call the adjacent, right? The capital A. And the longest side here is always the hypotenuse. That one can even can be easily seen by looking at the figure. All right, so that means we are interested in getting the adjacent side, and so from SOHCAHTOA we can pick out that part where we have the adjacent side, and then since we know the hypotenuse. All right, so cosine of that angle should equal to side AD out of the hypotenuse, which is 4. Okay, now how do I get to this answer? Please, since this is out of 1, this is out of 1, when we cross multiply on your calculator, you can simply say 4 times cosine of this, right? On your calculator you will be able to see this, and I'm writing my answer to 3 decimal places. Please, it is always nice to give your answer to 3 decimal places. Let me put the other units because I've been given units in centimeters. Okay, now after that, now that I know AD, okay, and I see that AD is the same as DB, we have these symbols here to show that. So that means I know this side, I know this side. And then triangle ABD is also a right angled triangle. If I know two sides and I am interested in getting the longest side, by the way, in this case, this is the longest side, then I can simply apply the Pythagoras theorem, whereby I can say that when I square the longest side, do you see that there? Then I should get the sum of the two shortest sides squared. So since these two are the same, that's why we have the same number here being squared, and this AB is the longest side. Okay, and so when we square this, we are able to get this, and when we take the square root, we can get this answer there as our AB. But still, I am writing my answer to 3 decimal places. Okay, whereas when I was working out, you notice that I'm using 4 decimal places. That is done by smart students. Okay, now is there any other way we can do that? Fine. Let us go back a little bit to the figure. When I look at this triangle, I see that this side and this side are equal. This angle here is 90, and so this is another isosceles. Right? Actually, it is a right-angled isosceles triangle. And so if this angle is 90, these two must share 90, and when they share, then this should be 45 degrees, and this should also be 45 degrees. Okay, and now I can make use of cosine again. That since I'm interested in this side, which is, by the way, the adjacent side to any, either you can take this 45 or this 45, then I can still say cosine of 45 is equal to the adjacent side. If I consider this is my adjacent, out of the longest side, the hypotenuse, which is AB, and so I can also use that. Good. Let's go to our next question, which is our last question for the day. It says, use the grouped frequency distribution table below to answer the questions that follow. Okay, and we have that we are asked to copy and complete the cumulative frequency column. So we need to copy this table and then we fill it. Allow me to use this here. All right, so what is cumulative frequency? Cumulative frequency simply means, or the way we get it is when we add the frequencies as we go along. So how do we do that? This is 19, so my first cumulative frequency should also be 19. Now to get the next one, I need to add 19 plus 21, which gives me a 40. To get the next one, I need to add 40 plus 19, which gives me a 59. And then the next one, which gives me a 71. Then when I add this plus this, I get 79. And when I add this plus this, I get 81. Sorry, I get an 80, right? Okay, that's the right way to add. So we have completed that. Now, part B, we are asked to determine the median class. How do we get the median class? Remember, this is grouped data. And so to get the median class, we need to find the median position first. So let's start with median position. And median position is equal to summation of f out of 2. We are dividing by 2 because we are interested in the middle. Do not forget, the median is just the middle term. Okay, now what is our summation f? Remember, the summation of f means adding all the frequencies. This symbol here means add, so we are supposed to sum the frequencies. But now, since we have cumulative frequency here, we know that the last number here should be the summation of f. So that means we can write 80 out of 2, and this gives us the 40th position. And we are saying it is a position, it's not the median yet. It's not the median class yet. We are supposed to find that median class. But then when we get the position, let's see, how do we now obtain the median class? Starting with this, when you look at this first class here and having a 19 here, this means that positions 1, when we arrange data, remember, usually when we are arranging data, we arrange from the smallest. That's why I'm starting with this class up and not the class down. We start from smallest up to the largest. So this means that positions 1 up to, that's the first position, up to the 19th position, okay, are occupied by values within this class. Fine. Then what does this mean? This means that starting with the 20th position, right? 20th position, because here we stopped at 19. So the 20th position up to the 40th position are occupied by numbers between 42 to 19, right? And since our median position is the 40th position, that means our median class is supposed to be 42 to 40, 49, okay? This is our median class, 42 to 49. Please, thank you for getting time to watch this. More is still to come.